4 for 4.
I'm like, damn.
It wasn't just 4 for 4.
Thank God
he was
the
highest,
and I got a couple points.
Yeah, he was the highest score in 3 out of 4. He missed the other one by less than like a point. And all of his other things. Thomas killed it last week for you. Like,
he was one Evan Ingram touchdown away from going clean sweep.
He wasn't even an Evan Ingram touchdown. He was an Evan Ingram catch.
Right. If Evan Ingram dropped one more ball, which we all know is within his range of outcomes, then he has the perfect week. I don't think we've ever had a perfect week on the show. We've never had an 8-point week.
No, we haven't.
Wild. Why did I come back? Why didn't you just vote me off the show and keep calm?
I asked Thomas to come back in. I asked Thomas to come back. He said he couldn't do it today. So
yeah, he's got the walkabout.
Yeah,
I talked to him.
He said he had to go from his laptop or something.
Well, he said he was doing something with the walkabout. I don't know if it was editing it or if it was recording it or whatever. But he had some issue. I talked to him today because I was like, I'm back, but Shane's not. So you should come and join. But yeah, he said he had talked to you.
Yeah.
Because then we'd have been here like half the daggum show talking about his miraculous fix. Although,
here we are anyway.
He did have a free. He got on the Chase. Did you see the Twitter or that I put up where I cut the video? He got Chase. He went hard after Chase. Let me tell you, brother.
Oh, I love that.
Awesome. That promo he cut on Chase.
That is usually Shane and I's job, is to bully Chase on his own show. So I'm glad that Tom understood the assignment in that regard.
He understood the assignment. No, he's like, dude, you ended up going with, I don't even remember how I took. Hold on, I took Mariota. He goes, you're gonna take Mariota when you have Goff right in front of you. And I was like, I wanted that upside, man. I was going with your pick for the Steelers.
Hey, I mean, it was your last chance to take Marcus Mariota this year. So good job getting it in good.
Is Desmond Ridder, is he starting now?
I mean, he hasn't been confirmed, but every other week that the media has asked, basically every single loss that Atlanta's had this year, the first question from the media has been to Arthur Smith, so are you going to change quarterbacks? And he's always been like indignant. It's like, why would you ask me such a thing? There is no situation. Marcus Mariota's our starter. He's my child. I love him, etc. And then this week he was like, we're going to have some discussions. I have some thoughts. I'm going to keep those private, but the bye week's coming in a good time for us. So like, it seems to me like the winds have shifted, the winds have changed direction on that front.
There is nothing that made you happier, Jacob. There's nothing in this entire world.
I'm so happy. I mean, I wish that we got to see more than 4 freaking games, but I'm pumped to see 4 games of Ridder. I will watch every one of his snaps.
All right, let's go ahead.
That's going to be awesome for London.
Can't be worse. Although we had a good week this week, so shout out Drake London. All it took for
This is Fantasy Intervention. Intervene with your fantasy life, Shane Manila, Jacob Sanderson, and Chase Vernon.
Hey, Jacob, I am so sorry because normally I cut you off because I think it's funny. That time it was completely unintentional. I thought you were just done talking, so I went with it. But you were about to talk about Drake London.
I'm going to do this rest of the show under protest. I was trying to make a point about football, which is not usually. I only do that 2 or 3 times per show, and then I get cut off. No, I was just saying all it took for Drake London to have a usable week this week as a wide receiver 2 is to have like 53% targets per route run. So that's the bar in the Atlanta offense. If more than half the time you run a route, you're able to demand a target, you can be fantasy viable as a wide receiver 2. That's what Arthur Smith has created. That's the threshold we need.
So, what's funny is like Axel, comes in and talks about Shane Mercy, and Shane always gets the hashtags, right? I don't think anybody in the history of this show has ever gotten hashtags like Shane has hashtags. Shane gone missing. All right, so let's go ahead and let's talk a little bit about the show. We have a lot to talk about today. We have the fantasy playoffs upon us. We have 6 freaking buys again this week. Why does the NFL do this to us? It's very frustrating.
Last of the buys.
It is the last of the buys, but it's a big one because there are tons of role players on these teams that you're relying on for like flex spots and starters across the board that are not going to be available this week. We also have some different situations going on, like we talked about with Desmond Ridder. We have some injuries that we need to monitor to see if we would actually play them. So let's go ahead and let's break it down into our first piece of news, which is the injuries. Sorry to start it out with all the negativity, but Kenneth Walker's injured. His backup, DJ Moore, how does he have a high high ankle sprain, but he's still like questionable to play? Like he's still almost like
backup DJ Moore. I think you mean DJ Dallas.
Oh, DJ Dallas. I'm so sorry. DJ Dallas.
Although
Travis Homer,
DJ Moore, like maybe he would be better off as a backup running back in Seattle than a wide receiver in Carolina.
You're probably right about that. You're probably right. I mean, like, all right. So first off, we already know that we can never expect Pete Carroll to ever tell the truth about any injury whatsoever.
He
right?
describes injuries the most insane way. Like, did you hear how he described the DJ Dallas injury?
I didn't hear this one. Go ahead.
It says that he has a strained ligament in his upper ankle. So in other words, a high ankle sprain.
Yeah. I mean, I've never seen a high ankle sprain last less than like 4 weeks. Like I've never seen a light high ankle sprain. Right?
That's the same. That's the same thing we got.
A lunatic. He doesn't. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the same thing we got from him with the Walker injury. A jammed ankle. I mean, have you ever heard of a jammed ankle?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a Pete Carrollism for sure.
Like the Pete Carroll thing. The only thing with Pete Carroll is like you either have to figure out, okay, is he just describing an injury that we know of weirdly, or is he describing the wrong injury entirely? Like that's the question you have to ask, because he'll be like, he has a sprained ligament in his upper ankle. He'll be back in a week or so, and you're like, okay, either he does not know what the injury is, or he doesn't know what the timeline is. But it's always 50-50 as to whether he's misinforming you as to the timeline or the injury.
Messing with people. I think he's like Greg Popovich, like the I think he's the Greg Popovich of the NFL, where all he's doing is trolling us the entire time because he never tells the truth about anything. Like he'll tell us one week that Russell Wilson isn't tradable, and then he trades him in the next week. Like we've seen this issue with everybody. I mean, he literally is a giant troll for the entire media. But what are we going to do with Kenneth Walker? Let's just say Kenneth Walker does play, right? Like, are we rolling him out with the injury? If he doesn't play, are we rolling out Travis Homer? If, let's just say, DJ Dallas plays, are we rolling out Travis Homer, DJ Dallas? Like, I'm going to start with you, Jay. Like, where are you going with this backfield?
Oh,
well, I'm sorry, Jay, not Jacob. My bad.
I only want to play in this backfield if Kenneth Walker's there. I'm looking right now because it's something I should have done before we did the show. But who is Seattle playing this week?
Carolina, good matchup.
Oh my goodness,
great matchup.
I guess whoever the starter is who I'm going to start if I've got him on my roster.
Who's that going to be, Jay? Tell me.
Right, we don't know. I'll be honest. So I have Kenneth Walker and I went and picked up Travis Homer today.
Okay.
Did you try to pick up DJ Dallas?
He was already taken for some reason.
So I crossed my fingers.
Yeah. What about Wayne Gallman?
Well, I mean,
Mojo.
Hang on. How many? I need about $4 worth of quarters so I can start because I don't know who's going to be starting. I'm just going to cross my fingers that it's going to be Walker in the long end.
This is where I had it in the column this week. People know I write a column on streaming running backs, and normally like the easiest deep play of the week is like, okay, clear starter gets injured, play the backup, right? And I said in the column this week, I didn't even recommend any of the Seattle running backs as waiver ads. I was like, unless you're completely desperate, because I was like, realistically, you might, if you're going to ensure getting the right one here, it might take 4 bench spots, and then you're still going to have to pick which one to play. Like, you have to think about all these contingencies. So let's assume Walker's out, right? That's the first one, obviously. Okay, if Walker's out, does Dallas play? Probably not. If Dallas doesn't play, then is Homer the real running back, or is he still just a third down guy? If he's just a third down guy, then is it Tony Jones or is it Wayne Gallman? Or do all three split and then you don't want any of them? Like it's really a problem where I'm not even sure there is a right answer, right? Like it might just be Tony Jones and Wayne Gallman split early downs 50-50 and Homer plays all the pass downs and then you can't play any of them.
Because they're not going to need to pass anyways up against Carolina. Because
you have to decide who's the one that I want. So I don't even know. Like it's really an issue to try and figure out. So I'm probably ignoring it.
You brought up more names. You brought up more names in that Seattle backfield than are on bye week this week with Kamara, Harris, Algiers. Just started counting people's. I think some of those people were actually at the fish market throwing fish last week. Who the hell are these people?
A Kurt Warner situation.
If we were going to play a game where it was just guess which Seattle running backs are currently rostered, or guess which running backs are rostered by Seattle, and I made a multiple choice, I feel like I could trick you guys. Like if you weren't following,
you probably could.
I feel like if I asked the comment section, I was like, is it Wayne Gallman, Tony Jones, Amir Abdullah? Like if I just started throwing out running back names like David Johnson, who would know really?
All right, so let's go ahead. Let's hop on to our next thing.
Start throwing out. You could probably start throwing out singer names, and they'd be like, I don't know if he's a singer or if he's a running back for Seattle, because it's very possible.
Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and talk about Jimmy G, right? Because Jimmy G went from out to like questionable, like real quick. Like everybody's like literally the entire team, I guess, or the thought process behind the beat reporters and the media were saying Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be out for the year, and then today it comes out that he might just miss a few weeks. Is Jimmy G somebody in, let's just say, 2 quarterback leagues, dynasty leagues? Like what are we doing with Jimmy G?
He's gonna miss 7 weeks minimum. So
he is. He's out for the rest of the season, no matter what.
He's out for the rest of the regular season, and he might come back in the playoffs if they're able to advance far enough. But for fantasy wise, he's droppable in redraft or any form of redraft. Are you dropping him in dynasty? And I don't want to spend a lot of time on this because we don't have a lot of people in here in Dynasty, but those that are listening that have them in Dynasty, are you dropping them? Or are you trying to move them for like a third round pick? A third round, probably not. I'd probably want like a 2, maybe I'd throw a 3. You're definitely not dropping him in Dynasty. This goes for so many different quarterbacks. This goes for if you've been holding Jacoby Brissett too. If you try and count all the quarterbacks 1 to 32 in the NFL next year, you will get to some undesirable names by around 20, faster than you think. So do not drop Jimmy G. You should probably try and trade for Jimmy G. I'd be throwing out round 3 picks for Jimmy G. I would try something, an offer that I've made in each league that I have Tyler Huntley, either where I have 3 or 4 other quarterbacks or where I'm not, going to make the playoffs. And so I'm not going to use his points. Either of those scenarios, I'm offering Tyler Huntley for Jimmy Garoppolo.
All right, let's go ahead and go on to Lamar Jackson with his knees. Jay, what's the latest update on this? And, what are we doing with him for even, let's just say, redraft leagues, man? Like, is this somebody that we're moving on from because we don't think he's going to play the rest of the season?
Hell no. This is one I'm glad you came to me on. I did a little bit of background research, read a couple doctors' reports, Twitter doctors as well as real doctors. It looks like this injury is on the average 1 to 3 weeks. Because they're in the playoff push, it may only be a 2-week injury with him. However, the other side of that coin is keep an eye on whether he's practicing, on Wednesdays and Thursdays. Of course, he didn't practice today. Probably not going to play this week, so he's out this week. Pay attention next week if he's practicing. He probably will play. That all comes back to the contract as well. I don't think Lamar is that type of person to not play. He wants to play. But this could be that, hey, screw you. I'm going to take an extra week, even though I'm good, to get my money. But with them being in the playoff push, I would think that he would be out this week and probably be back next week from the sounds of it. It's usually a 1 to 3, so probably for him too.
But for redraft leagues, right? Like, he hasn't even been good. Like, he's borderline startable from week to week. Jacob, are you holding on to him in redraft for single quarterback leagues, like just in case he has good matchups at the end? In
Superflex, you're 100% keeping him. Yeah. In a 1 QB redraft, I could go kind of either way on it. I still think that if he hadn't gotten injured, I wasn't really worried about his production because a lot of it's just touchdown variance. And when you average out, the fact that all his touchdowns were in these games early in the season, if you spread that out, he's been just fine. He's been a mid-range QB1 overall in the year. So I'm not too worried about the recent results. The thing that I would be, Huntley will not be taking his job. That's ridiculous. The the tough part with Lamar is that this is a knee injury, right? This is not like Fields where it's a shoulder. If Lamar's not running a whole lot or not running a whole lot effectively, then his fantasy appeal becomes drastically limited. We've seen that with Kyler in recent years where he suffered a hamstring injury or a leg injury of some sort, and he comes back. He's not running as much, and now we're talking about a high-end quarterback too. So I think that in one quarterback redraft, if you have at least some other suitable option on your bench or on the waiver wire or can stream, I'm fine dropping Lamar.
All right. And by the way, we are getting to your questions. Please get your questions in the chat. Fantasy football discussion. Big shout out to you guys for joining us today. If you guys have any questions, get them in the chat. Go follow us over there on youtube.com/fantasy-intervention. Are you guys ready to watch Lamar play for the Lions in 2023? Because that's what I'm the most excited about. Nothing.
The one thing I will say about Lamar and what the playoff schedule is, the one thing I will say about his playoff schedule, he's got Cleveland, Atlanta, and Pittsburgh weeks 15, 16, and 17 for the fantasy playoffs. If he's back he's got some nice little matchups there, I think.
He does.
Especially against Cleveland and Atlanta. So we'll see what's going to happen there. I don't think I could cut him. Because you only got him for the rushing upside. I know it's a knee, and like Jacob said, it's not the same, but it kind of is. With Fields, it's not Fields throwing arm, the shoulder. It isn't. It's Jackson's knee, so it takes some of that rush inside. But you got to remember, he's got J.K. hopefully coming back. He's got Gus coming back. Or back already. So I don't think I could cut him, to be quite honest.
All right, let's go ahead and hop on to some of these questions real quick. If you guys have any questions, please get them in the chat. All right, we have Roger coming in. It's 10-man PPR, right? So a little bit of smaller league. He needs help at the tight end position, and somehow, he is completely decimated because he drafted Waller and Ertz. Then he streamed Hurst. Now he's out. So he now has 3 guys that are missing the season, and he's literally just scraping the waiver wire. We have Moreau, who we put a claim in for. We have Hunter Henry, Tyler Conklin, Okonkwo, Gesicki, scraping the barrel. Who's the play for week 14? I'm going to go ahead and start this one out. I will be talking a little bit more about Okonkwo later. He has tremendous upside, like more upside than any one of these tight ends do. And he's been involved in the offense, especially last week where he split snaps with Hooper. But I can't trust to go with Okonkwo if you're on the line for fantasy. If you need some upside, right? Let's say your team is decimated through and through, not just your tight end position like it looks to be. I think Okonkwo could get you there, like if you need to, especially with Treylon Burks having the concussion. I think we've seen like one player actually play the week after they got a concussion. Nobody else out for the most part has actually passed concussion protocol in like a week, at least at the skill positions. Am I wrong about that, guys? Like there's pretty much, there might've been one guy that passed it within a week, but I'm pretty sure most people they've held out since the whole Tua thing.
There has not been anybody since the changes in the rules that has played that week. It looked like Olave was going to do it, and then he ended up missing that week.
Okay,
so
that was who it was. It was somebody that played on like Monday night or something, and they almost played.
Yeah, I think that you can pencil in Burks for being out this week, hopefully back next week. But we know that's not a guarantee either, right? We've seen Renfro miss multiple weeks. We just saw Mixon miss multiple weeks. For this one, well, I mean, I think we're going to talk about a couple of the tight ends on this list. So
yeah, we actually are.
I think that Okonkwo is a solid one. And then the other guy that I'll end up talking up later is Hunter Henry based on the matchups and also a possibility that Jacoby Myers misses. So it's kind of a similar scenario where you have another wide receiver with a concussion and a really strong matchup against Arizona. But I think that Okonkwo or Henry, I would have them in a similar, I don't know. I like both of those guys better than the other two for sure. Okay.
What about Moreau, who he has waiver claim in for? I mean, is he the automatic start? Jay? I think Jay's behind us by a few seconds.
We've seen him. Yeah.
Yep.
We've seen him just not show up to ball games. So, I don't know that I don't want Foster Moreau on any of my teams. For this week, I would want Henry just because of the matchup against Arizona. But for the long term, I think it would be Conklin, especially if the Jets are continually going to run Mike White out there and just going to let him throw 57 times a game.
Roger, how about this? To ask the Moreau versus Okonkwo question. I am playing in the finals of a $350 FFPC league this week, and I'm dropping Foster Moreau for Chigozie Okonkwo.
God, I love that. All right. So Jamal comes in. What's up, Jamal, man? Thanks for joining us once again this week, man. We appreciate your support. He said, what's up? How y'all doing? I need an RB2 this week since Kamara is on bye. Who should I start? We have Singletary, Dobbins, / Edwards, whoever plays. Let me go ahead and start this out first off by saying that we don't really do too many starter sit questions at this point, although we will answer them to the best of our abilities. We want you guys to come back on Sunday morning at 11:30 Eastern time. We do about an hour-long show where we can actually accurately answer your starter sit questions after we have all the results, such as whether Dobbins or Edwards is the starting running back. Because right now, if Dobbins plays, I'm probably going Singletary on this one. If he doesn't play, I mean, I don't know if I'd go Edwards, but like it does create some sort of tumultuous atmosphere as to where we have to make a snap decision for you guys 5 days ahead of time.
Are there no other options here?
I actually like Singletary.
Some other options here.
I love Singletary this week.
Here's a bunch of off the board options that might be available on the waiver wire that I would prefer to any of these options. First off, James Cook, Singletary's backfield mate, who's still available in 76% of leagues, or at least was. I guess waivers cleared in most leagues yesterday, but some still go on Wednesday night. And then I would look at, of course, Zon of the Night. I would rather play than Singletary in that game.
With Michael Carter healthy.
Yeah, I don't give a shit about Michael Carter, to be honest with you.
I hate Michael Carter so much.
So do the Jets. And I would rather play Cam Akers than Devin Singletary this week.
Okay, Cam Akers is actually the interesting one, but I still rather play Devin Singletary, who's still getting those goal line touches when there's an opportunity. Plus, the Jets are way more porous up against the run as of late, which we'll talk about a little bit more here in a little bit. Jay, do you have a take on this one?
No, I'm not playing Singletary. If that's my option, I'll go find somebody else. I don't want Singletary on my roster right now. They're giving James Cook such good looks, and he's getting the passing opportunities.
Yeah, yes, 6 targets last week, 5 or 6 receptions,
and it's continually gone up.
He was a low end RB2 all year, getting 70+% of the snaps. Right, so when you now that he's losing a big chunk of the snaps, like what are we? Right, this wasn't a high value running back offense, right? And now Cook is actually making it one. He's getting more high value touches, but Singletary never gets a very high proportion of high value touches, even when he's getting all of the touches. When you reduce that pie, it's getting a little gnarly for me. I have extreme disinterest in playing Devin Singletary.
All right, we will get to more of your questions. We're going to do this last one. We're going to hop on. Oh, wait, we do have more listener questions that we actually took beforehand. So we'll go ahead and answer those real quick. We have who can fantasy managers trust in the backfield with Jeff Wilson Jr. and Raheem Mostert being back-to-back? Which one do you guys want? I think it's pretty easy for me. I'm doing Jeff Wilson. They didn't run on purpose last week, and we talked about that in our DFS show on Friday. Jacob, how we didn't think they were going to run at all. Jeff Wilson Jr. for me is the guy to own.
I mean, they didn't give him any snaps either last week, so I'm not particularly bullish on Jeff Wilson. I mean, Mostert.
Are you taking Raheem Mostert
last week? I don't really want to play either of these guys because It seems like they just switched them up on a whim without notifying us. But last week they played a lot more Mostert. So I don't know. Would it surprise me if they played more Wilson again this week? No. Would it surprise me if they just do what they did last week? No. I don't know. Can I get behind any of the four? Why?
It feels like the same time or the same thing that happened with these two guys, Jeff Wilson Jr. and Raheem Mostert. They played for the 49ers. Same thing happened, where we didn't know which one to trust from week to week.
I thought we were good with Jeff Wilson, man. I thought we were, but if they can just decide on a moment's notice to give him one carry, I mean, that's not ideal.
No, I think that was the game plan going in for them. They knew that front for San Francisco is an absolute wall that nobody's running through. So I think that was the game plan going in, and whether they executed it to how they wanted to or not, whatever. They didn't give either one of them, they didn't run the ball at all in that game. Jeff Wilson had one. What did Mostert have? Like 7 carries, 8 carries, something like that. So they didn't try to run the ball.
That's more than Jeff Wilson.
And I think that, right, but I think that was the game plan going in. Keep him fresh for this week. And I think this week is the week to play Jeff Wilson.
All right. Does Baker Mayfield make things interesting for Allen Robinson, Tyler Higbee, anybody like that? I mean, is it even worth talking about? Or
Allen Robinson's on injury reserve.
Allen Robinson's on IR.
I'm sorry. So yeah, that's right. Van Jefferson. I'm sorry, Van Jefferson.
No, don't play Ram.
Maybe we can get some.
If you absolutely must, yes, I would rank Cam Akers as a mid-range RB3. and I would not want anybody else. I mean, talk about teams that just change with the
stop
their pants, right?
You can't even put Cam Akers ain't shit when it comes to the receiving. He's got 3 targets or 3 receptions all year for 18 yards.
Let me tell you, he's not that good at the running game either.
Is below. Right. But his floor in the PPR game is below the ground. So there is no film. Stop with the Cam Akers.
Mid-range.
No,
I said he was a mid-range RP3 in a week with 6 teams on bye.
I want to play single. I'll play Singletary over. I'll play Singletary over Cam Akers.
Over Singletary. There we go. That's where I'm drawing
with Baker Mayfield.
My line is in the sand. Cam Akers.
Tutu Atwell.
Tutu Atwell option that I don't want to play over Devin Singletary, who's a shittier option that I don't want to play.
Tutu Atwell. Anybody? Can I interest anybody in some Tutu Atwell? All right, let's go ahead and let's hop on to this final question.
This was player? Because we were talking about the Bills backs. Jack says Singletary or James Cook. James Cook. He gets the high value touches. I understand it's just a 1 week trend. Maybe it'll fall back, but he got a high value touch role that we haven't seen from Singletary. I'd rather play into that than Singletary.
Jack, I'm going to dive into that even more so here in a little bit, but we'll get to your question addition. What player is the number 1 target that might still be out there on your waivers? We have like Cam Akers, Jameson Williams, possibly Deshaun Watson, James Cook. You say he was available in 73% of leagues. Is there a must grab right now that are possibly still on waivers more than any other player out there? Like a glaring, why is this guy still out there? Jacob? Oh, you look like you're looking. We'll go to Jay on this one.
All right. So I wrote down 4 guys. James Cook, we've already talked about. Jordan Mason, that's somebody that if he's still out there in your leagues, that's somebody you definitely want to have, because we know the CMC stuff happens, and it happens at the wrong times, especially coming into these fantasy playoffs. Chuba Hubbard, because we don't know what's going on with Deontay Foreman. He looks like he's injured, didn't practice again today. So there's another guy that he could be the starting linebacker.
95% sure that he's playing. So take that for what it's worth.
Who said that?
Not much. Deontay Foreman.
Okay.
95. Last but not, said 95.
Yeah, he said 95% sure.
And that's the player saying that. So that's okay.
I'll give him 50%.
So Chuba Hubbard is probably going to start. And then the last but not least is probably going to be the one that's least amount available, and that's Jahan Dotson. Getting some targets, getting some high value targets. Terry McLaurin's doing what Terry McLaurin's going to do, but Heineke does get the ball spread around a little bit, and with no true, tight end, he's got 4 or 5 touchdowns already on the year, and I can see him being more available with Terry McLaurin and getting his down the field as well. So yeah, those are the 4 that I would be looking at that would be top 4 of my list.
Who's the only person on earth that misses Carson Wentz? Curtis Samuel. That guy really misses Carson Wentz. He has been useless since Taylor Heineke came in. Absolutely useless.
It's amazing.
He was so good early in the season with Carson Wentz.
He wasn't good. He just got a ton of targets. He was like J.D. McKissick the past 3 years.
That's good. What do you want? He was scoring fantasy points. He wasn't
good. He was good for fantasy.
I don't give a shit. He's scoring fantasy points. Not so much anymore.
I'm going to go with I get Greg Dulcich over there. I think that he's a lock. He needs to be rostered. I think that Okonkwo, who we're going to talk about even more, needs to be rostered just in case he actually does take over this primary role. And then I'm actually going to go with a little bit of a surprising one that I don't think either one of y'all are going to agree with, but we'll see what happens. DJ Chark. DJ Chark could end up being a focal point of this offense. He could be this big play receiver. We know the Lions like to pass. We know the Lions defense sucks. I don't understand the infatuation with Jameson Williams, but I understand the neglect with DJ Chark. He's seen 5 targets in all but 1 game that he played, that he remained healthy the entire time. He got into the end zone. He's a guy that can be a fantasy asset down the stretch. And if something happens to Amon-Ra St. Brown, Swift ends up getting re-injured, Chark is going to be that only guy. Now, if Chark gets injured, which he might as well just go ahead and tack him up for an injury in the future, then you're kind of screwed. But I still think he needs to be rostered in terms of wide receiver that could play a role in that flex position as we go into the playoffs.
I'm not rostering any of these bum-ass wide receivers because we're not going to have any buys after next week. And you should have 3 wide receivers easily on your roster that are better than DJ Chark and Jahan Dotson. But I would want to spend all my running back slots at this point, or all my bench spots at this point in the year, on backup running backs that are not owned, that are one step away from instantly going into any of your lineups. I'll be looking at the Jalen Warrens of the world. I would
Yeah,
keep
I love
Samaje
Jalen Warren.
Perine. If
Love
anybody
Jalen
drops Samaje Perine with Joe Mixon coming back, you pick him right back up because Joe Mixon get injured again, and you just saw what you got out of Perine. You can go get Zamir White. Josh Jacobs already dealing with that lingering calf. He's going to keep playing, but he could get aggravated or you get a different injury altogether. Any of these types of guys, backups that would be taking on the majority of the role. That's to me where I want to spend most of my bench spots, because at this point you can really look at your lineup and you don't have to worry as much. I phrased it in my article as it changes the contingency of your bench, where I think most of the time you're looking at it as a negative contingency through the year. What could happen to my starters where I might need somebody? And now as there's less time in the year, less opportunities for your own guys to get injured, more about your own guys, who your starters are. I would look at my bench spots and be like, what needs to happen for this guy to get in my lineup? And like, take an example, I used Nico Collins as the example in my piece, where there's nothing that can get better for him. It kind of is what it is. So if he's already in your lineup, then he's in your lineup. But if he's not already in your lineup now, he's not getting in your lineup, because you clearly then have people that are better options than Nico Collins. Like, there's no injury that's going to open up space for him. There's no quarterback change where all of a sudden he's going to have a good quarterback. Like, it is what it is. So if someone's not going to get in your lineup as currently constructed and they're a wide receiver, then you should be removing that player and ultimately putting in players who have an opportunity to get into your lineup if something happens, which is mostly backup running backs.
So you're saying that DJ Chark could not improve his situation? Because I completely disagree. I'm just kidding with you, Jacob. Let's go ahead and hop onto this question. We have Hawkinson with a revenge game narrative. Would you guys take the over on 4.5 receptions? Seems like a lock given his target since he's been a Viking. I don't understand how that's his over-under, to be honest.
How many catches has he had in each game since joining?
It's been like minimum 5 for at least 3 or 4 consecutive games. Let me look that up.
All right,
real
so
quick.
it's been last 4 games. Washington was the first game, so it was 9 targets, 9 receptions.
How many catches though? Oh,
9 for 9. Yep. 7 for 10 against Buffalo.
7, 5, 5, 4. Okay.
Yep.
They had 1 game of 4, but I think that was a tough matchup, correct?
Yeah, I mean, it's not
As
a
against the
lot,
Jets.
but I'd probably bet on the over before I bet on the under there.
I don't know how. Like, I don't understand how it could be the under. To be honest, up against Detroit, who's completely decimated. I would take Hawkinson on the over in a heartbeat. I love that over bet. Thanks for bringing that up, Jamie.
That Detroit defense is getting better. But yeah, I think I would still take the over on that as well.
Yeah, but they're not going to leave Hawkinson in a block up against Detroit. I just don't see that happening. All right. We have Patrick in here. 12 team, 0.5, PPR, Superflex, Dotson +4, ARSB, Amon-Ra St. Brown.
I'm assuming this is dynasty scenario when I hear Superflex and I'm seeing.
Well, yeah, you probably wouldn't
Dotson
roster Dotson.
Amon-Ra. Right.
Yeah, so what would you have to give in addition to get Amon-Ra St. Brown? I'm guessing.
I'm not. Well, I'll just say what would make it kind of even, I guess, is where I'll take this. I don't know what side he's getting. To me, Amon-Ra should be worth like 2 firsts, and I think Dotson is worth not much. So I would say that whatever so I don't know, a first and 2 seconds in Dotson, maybe a first and a second in Dotson.
What about you, Jay?
Yeah, no, I was sitting there thinking about it myself, and I was like a first plus maybe a second. But I mean, if I'm giving Dotson plus, I would give. I guess that's the way I look at it. Is I'll give Dotson a late first and a mid to late second, and try to do it that way. I think that would be probably about fair value there in a dynasty.
I mean, for me, I'm looking at if we're looking at players, right? We're trying to pair players because I mean, draft picks are very easy to be able to say, hey, just give them this. But a lot of people that are in these positions don't have like those draft picks to be able to give. In order for me to get Amon-Ra St. Brown to make it even, I would need like maybe Chris Olave plus Jahan Dotson, Terry McLaurin plus Jahan Dotson, Marquise Brown.
Wait. We're viewing Chris Olave and Terry McLaurin in like a similar vein here.
No, Chris Olave is ahead of Terry McLaurin, but I mean, very slightly. I mean, I don't have them that much of a separation. I'm just saying, like, I would need a stud plus Dotson in order to do that for 0.5 PPR because Amon-Ra St. Brown is a PPR monster. He's not getting you a ton of yards every game. It's half point PPR. So like I don't need that much. Terry McLaurin for me, if he gets a quarterback that can throw him touchdowns because his average depth of target is, I'm not 100% sure about this, but I'm pretty sure it's significantly higher than Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Way higher.
Yeah. I don't even think it's relatively close. I mean, we're talking about in half point PPR, Amon-Ra St. Brown's fantasy points getting cut down by 25%. So like what we see in PPR, which is what we're used to in Dynasty, it honestly like doesn't even have a reflection as to what he should be valued in 0.5 PPR. And if you're valuing Amon-Ra St. Brown in 0.5 PPR as highly as you are in PPR, that's not throughout together. That's like
if I'm trading away
Allen Robinson.
If I'm trading away Amon-Ra St. Brown in half PPR Dynasty, I'm not doing it to get another wide receiver because the entire position is devalued in half PPR, where really the only guys that are sticking out and making a difference are the elite options, where, Terry's not that and Amon-Ra is kind of at the borderline in half PPR. I would be really just trying to reallocate to other positions. Like I would be trying to reallocate into tight end, into quarterback, into running back, or into picks, which you can use to trade or draft, any of those opportunities. I wouldn't want to be, so I would be avoiding the wide receiver 2s in half PPR Dynasty.
All right, Javonte Williams,
and that's where I was
Dotson or Amon-Ra St. Brown. Javonte Williams and
what was it?
I don't want anything to do with Javonte Williams.
Okay, J.K. Dobbins and
I want less to do with if the question is injured running back or the other thing. Give me the other thing.
Damian Pierce and Dotson.
I want Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Yeah, I would. Damian Pierce is lower for me than both those guys.
Right,
are.
but I didn't even realize that it was half point PPR. So that's what I was like, oh shit, we need to be talking about running backs, not.
All right, Kenneth Walker,
another wide receiver. So
Kenneth Walker, I'd take.
Okay, all right. I mean that's pretty obvious, I think.
Yeah.
All right, let's go ahead and move on. I think we beat this one. Let's go ahead and hop on to our next question. Sorry. Let's do Hollins versus Rams, Palmer versus Miami. PPR must win. Thanks for the help. I would suggest then, if you must win, that you come and join us on Sunday morning at 11:30.
Can't join you on Sunday morning. Hollins plays on Thursday.
Oh, crap. Oh, you're right.
I would take Palmer.
I would take Palmer, too, to be honest. Up against Miami's secondary, I'll take Palmer in a heartbeat.
I mean, the Raiders aren't going to have to throw. I think we're going to see a lot of Mr. Joshua Jacobs on Thursday night against the Rams.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, the Rams but the Rams have a good bit of injuries on that back end or in that defense side of the ball too. But I think
that they'll be successful throwing if they wish to. I just think that they're going to be up by a lot in a hurry.
We're going to see some Samir in there. All right. Would you trade Drake London in a 2023? Once again, another Dynasty question.
Trade alert.
Dynasty is tonight. Damn, dude. Shane is missing out. This is Shane's highlight episode.
Shane.
All right. Would you trade Drake London in early 2023 third for Love, 2023 early first, and a 24 second?
I'm going to cross off the third and Love.
Smash.
I don't care about those.
Yep. Get smash that.
I would do that for the early 23 first. Yeah.
Yeah, 23 is going to be sick. Do you think it's lopsided with Love added? No.
No. Take Love. Yep. Nobody.
Take Love, and if they say I'll do it, but I won't add Love, I don't care. Love don't cost a thing, as far as I'm concerned.
Love don't cost it. God, Jacob, that was immaculate. All right, Gus Edwards, Jeff Wilson Jr., Singletary, Cam Akers, Deonta Foreman, pick 2. Once again, guys, please join us on Sunday mornings at 11:30, so that way we can give you more.
We got another Thursday guy. We got Cam Akers. Well, how about this? I think we've discussed Cam Akers and Devin Singletary a lot.
We have, and Jeff Wilson.
And we don't know if Foreman's going to play, and then we don't know if Dobbins is going to play. So, and then we don't know if Jeff Wilson's going to get more than one carry. I don't know.
I just don't think I don't think you can start Cam Akers with the other options you have with Jeff Wilson.
I'm starting Cam Akers just be safe.
Yeah, I mean, what's the fear of missing out there? I fear that I miss out on Cam Akers. I would not start Cam Akers on Thursday, and then I would find out who the heck's playing and figure it out on Sunday.
All right.
Thank you for having my back there, Jacob. This guy over here next to me's. I know this guy over here is like, I ain't doing that.
We're all just falling over ourselves today to see who loves Cam Akers most.
I actually do like Cam Akers this week. I really do.
Oh,
I almost
God.
picked him for my
I'm
finish.
so glad they're
inside the top
playing
20.
Thursday, so I don't have to sit through a Cam Akers segment.
I was
on the
gonna
DFS.
say,
No,
it's
I don't
such a
even like
shame
Cam
he's-
Akers. You like Cam Akers. I don't even like Cam Akers.
I once liked Cam Akers before he became a medical experiment, as I said on the show. It's like the Bible, it's like the Old Testament and the New Testament. I like Old Testament Cam. This New Testament Cam, not about it.
All right, we will get to y'all's questions once again, but we do want to hop onto our last segment where we pick tight ends and quarterbacks outside the top 15 to finish inside the top 12, and then we also pick wide receivers and running backs outside the top 20 to finish inside the top 12. We're trying to find those sleepers for y'all that y'all might be questioning whether you should play them or not. We're going to let you know that you should or shouldn't play them. Jason, why don't you go ahead and start out with your quarterback position?
Well, I got called out in the group chat earlier because I took somebody who was a little bit too high. I was trying to ride the bandwagon. of
yeah,
Jared
cheater.
Goff, and
You big cheater.
Cheater.
Cheater Jay.
So I had to go back and look again. So hey, look, I'm going to go with the hometown boy.
Oh God, where is he going?
We're going Tampa Bay. Tom.
That's on the top 15?
44th.
Yeah, that's weird.
He was like 18 or something like that.
He
was
is.
his 44th.
Oh, I would have
Wow.
picked that one.
Yeah,
No
44th
faith.
comeback.
No faith.
Yep. 44th comeback of his career last week, with less than like 4 minutes left, 3 minutes left, something like that. The offense looked like it clicked up on the final drive. So, hopefully that's good things to come. One stat that a lot of people don't realize with him is he has one of the best TD to interception ratios in all of the NFL right now, 18-3. So, give me Tampa Bay.
Is there any chance that like Deshaun Watson actually finishes as the top 12 quarterbacks? I'm looking at the rankings right now and I see Deshaun Watson at 11 after last week's abysmal performance.
They probably won't have 3 defensive touchdowns this week, so
That's keeping. Listen. That's ESPN
so bad.
keeping you from making the horrible mistake that you try to make every week with quarterbacks.
Oh, it's so bad. All right, I'm going to go with Brock Purdy. I know this is terrible up against Tampa Bay.
Big cock Brock.
Big cock Brock. Wait, no, that's Drew Lock as a horse cock. No, so honestly, I think that they're just going to focus on getting the ball into their playmakers' hands. They're getting into CMC hands. They're going to get in Deebo Samuel's hands. They're not going to let Brock Purdy drop back up against this front seven. I don't see that happening, but you also can't run up against this front seven. So what are you going to do? Tons of screens. Kyle Shanahan strives with this type of play calling. I really think that we're going to see a decent week from the 49ers offense. I don't think it's going to be horrible. I don't think it's going to be great either. But I think Brock Purdy is going to do enough to finish inside the top 12, which is horrible this week for that quarterback position.
Yeah, quarterback is so horrible that I'm taking Russell Wilson. Who's been
That's bad
horrible for fantasy. Although I should report that he was actually pretty good in a real life capacity this most recent week. He was up at 8.4 yards per attempt. He was dealing early. They've been establishing the run so hard in the last month. And of course, the touchdown rate has just been absurdly bad for Russ the entire season. But if you actually look at his completion percentages, yards per attempt, he's actually been fairly efficient outside of the Carolina game in the last month. He has Jerry Jeudy back. They're playing against Kansas City where they really won't be able to establish the run. I'm expecting we'll see 35 dropbacks from Russ. That should get us in the neighborhood of 250 to 300 yards based on his recent performances in a beatable matchup. Will he find the end zone? Does he know where the end zone is? These are questions that we're unsure of, but I have to assume at some point he will throw a touchdown pass. And he's also been running a little bit more of late. So, give me Russ here. It's not pretty.
All right, I have to share this screen real quick. This is what Jacob ended up putting up as his pick on the show sheet. I just zoomed in on this. This is what Jacob put up. Russ, please, dude. Please, dude. Just stop. Jacob, this was amazing. He said, Russ, please, dude. Oh my God. This is what we've came to. This is what we come to. Hoping we're pleading on a show sheet for Russ Wilson to do something in pink. All right. Let's go ahead and hop onto the running back.
Please, dude. Russ, please.
Jason, who do you have?
Russ.
Who do you have for your running back?
Yeah, I'm taking somebody. We've talked about this guy a lot tonight. Jeff Wilson, man. I just think they did exactly what they wanted to last week and not overwork him. They didn't work him at all last week, so they didn't try to overdo it last week. Going up against the Chargers, it's the perfect they're the perfect team to jumpstart. The last 3 games, the Chargers have given up on the ground 140 to Jacobs, 120 to Connor, and 107 to Pacheco. We could have a Jeff Wilson to the moon sighting.
I love that. I mean, I still am on Jeff Wilson. I know that we talked a little bit about it earlier, how, Jeff Wilson might not be the dude because he only got 1 carry. But like you said, I think it's part of the game script. I think that's what was intended. Let's go ahead.
An interesting one for DFS, right? Because if last week never happened, Jeff Wilson probably really owned in this matchup. And last week did happen. That adds a lot of uncertainty. I don't know. I think it's I'll probably play at least one Wilson lineup this week, just playing it under the assumption that last week was an aberration. And I'll probably also play a Mostert lineup, assuming that it was not an aberration. I think one of those running backs probably going to hit whoever they give the carries to.
All right, let's go ahead and let's hop on to mine. I took James Cook, and I still think that Singletary is tempting just because his carries inside the 5. The only goal line carry that they had for a running back last week, it went to Singletary, and he got the touchdown. But James Cook is getting those high-value touches. James Cook still saw 4 carries inside the 20. We know that you can run on the Jets. You can't pass against them, but you can run on them from time to time. It's still not that easy, but it's better. James Cook offers upside. I'm going to go with James Cook because he can get you, if he gets an end zone touch, he could easily end up as a top 12 running back just because of the volume that he sees in the receiving game. I don't think they're going to push the limits too far on Stephon Diggs trying to force him the ball. I don't think it's going to happen with Gabriel Davis as much. I think they're going to take what they can get and run the ball as much as possible. James Cook is going to have to be involved. I'm taking James Cook.
Love it. Love it. My pick is Bam.
Tell us why.
Yeah. Bam.
I love this pick. I love this pick.
So Zonovan, Bam, Knight. He had 47 snaps last week to 28 for Ty Johnson and just 9 for James washed up Robinson. Here's to you, Mr. Robinson. Anyhow, of course, Michael Carter returns this week. And so I think it's important to try and figure out what's going to happen in this backfield, which has been a lot more fantasy friendly overall since Mike, the God himself, White, became quarterback. And I think it's going to be Bam. Bam Knight over his 2 games, obviously a minuscule sample, is up at 1.52 rush yards over expectation per attempt. That's a phenomenal number. If we extrapolated that out over the full season, which we shouldn't because it's 2 games, but if we did, it would be tied with Nick Chubb for 3rd highest mark in the entire NFL. So he's been absolutely really, really effective in the opportunities afforded. Michael Carter ranks in the bottom quartile of all rushers in rush yards over expectation per attempt, success rate, rushing grade by PFF, overall running back grade by PFF. He has not been very good. And the Jets seem to agree because they drafted Breece Hall. And then when Breece Hall got hurt, they went and traded for James Robinson. And then when they were like, oh man, this guy's cooked, we can't play him anymore. Then they were using Knight in part of a 3-way committee with Carter that first week anyhow. So I think that they've been showing this entire year with how they eventually scaled up Hall. Then they brought in Robinson and they demoted Robinson. This is a team that's making week-to-week choices based on merit in their backfield. And I think that Knight has been so good that he's earned the lead role going forward. I think we'll see Carter step into a role, something like James Robinson's small role from last week, plus maybe a little bit of what the early down carries that Ty Johnson got. But I think that this will operate, kind of a similar way to the Chiefs before the Clyde Edwards-Helaire injury, where Bam Knight's the Pacheco, the young guy who's kind of taken over. Carter is the CEH who gets demoted and usurped throughout the season. And then Ty Johnson is in that standalone McKinnon role, on the passing down. So I think Knight's in a good spot this week to provide value, even though the matchup is not ideal.
Yeah, I think a lot of people thought that Ty Johnson was going to be that pass catching back. And then if you look over the last 2 weeks, you look at Zonovan's receiving 3 for 3, 5 for 5. He's getting both. He's getting both the rushing and the receiving side of the ball. So it works in both half-point PPR and as well as in PPR for him. That's a great pick. Great pick.
All right. So we ended up having a question come in about the tight ends that we've suggested. And so I know that Everett ended up dealing with a hamstring injury in week 11 and it ended up hindering his ability, and we didn't know what to expect from Everett. So if you were asking to start a sick question, we probably told you to tune in on Sunday. Probably weren't able to answer that for you accurately, but we like the situation for Everett. In addition, he ended up having a right tackle that I discussed, ended up going out early. So they had to bring Everett in to block more often a couple weeks ago, and Jakob ended up getting into the end zone. As for Moreau last week, I don't have an answer for you. We all thought he was going to go off.
My answer is personal responsibility.
Huh?
For your own lineup. My answer is that people, when they set their lineups, should accept some personal responsibility for their choices.
Hey, we're trying to give you the best possible advice. We don't know that injuries are going to happen to a right tackle in the middle of the game where you have to bring in your tight end to block because you get 25% pressure rate on the outside from the blitzing opposition up against the 49ers. So let's go ahead and hop on to wide receiver, and then we will answer some more questions for y'all. Let's make this wide receiver a little bit tighter, a little bit more quick. What do we have for Mike Evans over there? Why do you think Mike Evans is going to go up against the 49ers? And why are you stacking Tom Brady with Mike Evans, Jay?
I mean, it's kind of like what Jacob said a little bit ago. I mean, he's freaking due. He's got to do something, right? I think the rushing game against the 49ers has been proven. It's going to be hard as hell to do. But Mike Evans is due number one, and Tampa's got a great passing offense when they work together. And so I'm looking for Mike Evans.
How do you know they're going to work together this week?
That last 3 minutes, that looked like they worked together in the passing game.
All they need to do, they've done this 3 times this year now against Green Bay and against the Rams, and then in this spot where if they just fast forward to the last 3 minutes of the game, then they can run effective offense. I mean, honestly, a lot of this is on Byron Leftwich, where like they are forfeiting every first down. They're just running it for 2 yards into the line, and they are just forfeiting it down on every single series. Like that's why they can only function when they're on their 2-minute offense. They don't have an explosive passing game. They can't pass the ball down the field. So they need to have more shots at this intermediate area of the field. Like Leftwich is trying to establish it on early downs, but this isn't a team that can operate off play action anyway because they don't have an offensive line. They don't have time for those route concepts to develop. Like they need to just be dropping back in the spread and just doing what they can with what they have at their disposal, which is Tom Brady and not much else. Well, and Evans and Godwin, but I mean, like the running backs don't have a chance and their O-line doesn't have a chance. So it just needs to be Brady in the quick passing game.
All right, I'm going with Marquise Brown up against the Patriots. The Patriots have been beat deep on multiple occasions from guys that are getting underneath, especially if Rondell Moore plays. This actually helps shift Brown's opportunity to share being more downfield instead of close to the line of scrimmage. Brown's ready to rock and roll in this Patriots team. They're great up against the starting wide receiver, as long as that starting wide receiver doesn't run deep and doesn't play in the slot. If he plays in the slot or has an average up to target above average or above 13 yards per reception or 13 yards per target, it's been pretty much game over for the Patriots. I understand that they like to take one player pretty much out of the game and let everybody else beat them. Go ahead, take out DeAndre Hopkins. Let's watch Marquise Brown go to town. I think Marquise Brown is easily a top 10 option this week and probably a top 5.
Jay disagrees. Jay doesn't like it. Jay hates
Stop saying take out. No, you cannot take out D-Hop. D-Hop is going to be the dude.
Patriots don't take out shit anymore. They suck.
All right, Jacob, who do you have?
They didn't take out Diggs last week. They didn't take out Justin Jefferson 2 weeks ago. They didn't take. All they need to do is take out Bill Belichick. That's what they need to take out. He's washed. He punted down. He punted from the other team's 40-yard line down 17 points. Take out
Bill.
That was bizarre. Take him out back and send him to the glue factory. Enough with Bill Belichick.
Jacob, tell me who you want at wide receiver.
Yeah, I don't want anybody, but I'm going to play DJ Moore is what I'll do because he's got one Reed Sam back at quarterback.
Oh, it's amazing.
And he went immediately, was a wide receiver 1 his first week with Sam Darnold back at the controls. And now he gets, the Seattle defense that's been very susceptible to really most things this year. And DJ Moore is the kind of guy that can work against the Seattle defense anyways, because he gets a lot of his work up and over the middle of the field and the shorter areas of the field, and he'll eventually, run some deep routes to chip in. But I think DJ Moore can have success this week because Sam Darnold's incapable of making his way to his second read. So he's going to throw at DJ Moore regardless, whether he's open, whether he's covered. It doesn't matter.
Taylor Heineke 2.0.
It is. Like these quarterbacks that don't know how to read a progression are incredible for fantasy because they only know how to throw to one guy.
It's amazing.
And that's what Sam Darnold does. So pencil in DJ Moore for another 30% target share, probably a 50% catch rate, but hopefully that still gets us to 6 catches and 80 yards, and hopefully he finds the end zone again.
You guys hear that? If you're drafting for dynasty leagues or even redraft leagues, and you hear that a rookie quarterback is terrible at reading his progressions, just go to his primary receiver. You're gonna end up working out. All right, so let's go ahead and answer these questions. Then we're gonna finish off at the tight end, so we can just hop on and hop off real quick. Let's answer these questions quickly as possible. You need to drop one. We have P. Ryan, Goff, James Cook, or DJ Chark. I know I liked DJ Chark earlier, but I'm dropping him over all 3 of these guys. Unless you have 2 quarterbacks. You have 2, like if it's a single quarterback league and you have 2 quarterbacks, I'm dropping Goff actually.
I think I agree with everything he said.
Okay.
Yep. 100%.
All right. I have Murray and Fields. Oh, wait, this is the same one. I have Murray and Fields already. 1 QB. Oh, yeah. Drop Goff.
Golf.
Yeah.
All right. Do you guys think Waddle being limited was just give him a rest day to make sure he plays? I'm not an injury expert, so I'm going to leave that up to one of you guys if you are.
Just don't worry about practice reports until Friday.
All right. Let's go over to Jamie has another under over question. Under over 65.5 yards. Last time he faced the Bills, he had 90. Plus, he's seen 23 targets over the last 2 weeks. I'm going to take the under on this, with Tre'Davious White actually having some reps and being healthy. I think that they're going to focus on taking Garrett Wilson out of the game. Elijah Moore week. Let's go.
I'll put it this way. I'm not betting against Garrett Wilson. Never.
I probably wouldn't place that bet either, but if I had to, I would take the under. If I had to, but that's not going to be one of the bets that I target. All right. Goff or Cousins rest of season. Ooh, this is a good one. I think I'm going to go Goff. Anybody?
Yeah, probably. Probably going to go Golf.
I think that the roar has been restored. Give me Goff.
All right, I'll take it. All right, should I accept this trade? I'm getting Saquon Barkley for Ramondre and Marquise Brown. My other RBs are Pollard, Mixon, Aaron Jones, Kenneth Walker. My wide receivers are CD Waddle, Jamar Chase, and DJ Moore. I would not accept that. I would hold on to Saquon Barkley.
Getting Barkley for Ramondre, Marquise Brown.
Saquon's easily the best player, and you don't need wide receivers. Your wide receivers are loaded.
Well, he'd be getting Barkley, right?
Okay, yeah. Then take Barkley.
And he'd be trading Ramondre and Marquise Brown.
Take the Barkley side.
Yeah, I think I would. I mean, I don't even know if there's a difference between Barkley and Ramondre, to be honest, but that's kind of what it comes down to. Your team's pretty loaded.
All right. Should I trade JT for Swift? No.
I would not do that.
All right. Andrews and Godwin for Waddle.
I would take the Andrews side of that.
I would too. And Husker in the chat. Husker, where you been, man? It's been a while since we've seen you, bro. It's the playoffs. Playoffs, man. I think I'm in spot 6 somehow. All right, let's go ahead and go on to the tight end position. I'll go ahead and start out, and I'm going with Chigo.
Love it.
Okonkwo up against Jacksonville. We've seen him just start to dominate the snaps over there. Or not dominate, but he split it in 50-50 with Austin Hooper. I think Hooper saw like 21 routes run. Okonkwo saw 20, but the thing is every time that Okonkwo gets a snap, he pretty much sees a target. He has to have one of the highest targets per route run over the past few weeks of almost any tight end. I would really like to see that. I haven't dove into that lately, but I definitely will before the DFS show. He's dominating everything, and he's getting big plays. Like, so we saw this, like 33% of Noah Fant's big play or yards came on 3 plays in Noah Fant's rookie year. I don't know if you guys were aware of that. It was either 3 or 5 receptions. He had like 40 receptions, but 33% of his yards or 35% of his yards came on those 3 to 5 receptions out of 40. Okonkwo is doing the same thing, but he's doing it on like almost every single play. So although we see like 1 reception for 40 yards, he does that every time he gets a reception. So like, we don't like, it's not just one big play. It's just every single time that he gets the ball, it's a big play. They're designing plays for him. And you know who used to do this? You know, he used to have big plays like this all the time in massive games. They give him the ball in the backfield. Jonnu Smith, a hyper like athletic freak of a tight end who we thought was going to be just massive, and then ends up going to the same team as Hunter Henry. Like, I still want to yell about that. But I mean, Okonkwo's like the same type of player. He's a hyper athletic tight end. They're giving him the ball when they need plays, and he's making plays happen. And we saw the same exact thing out of Jonnu Smith, but Jonnu Smith needed a contract. Okonkwo is coming on as a rookie and has a very bright future ahead of him. I love Okonkwo. I have him in so many dynasty leagues. I love him.
I'm so glad that you brought up this whole defense of Chig Okonkwo, who I like as a play this week, by the way. And I would have picked him if Chase did not pick him first because he's fun. But you know why I know that my pick is better than yours already? Because you said that Okonkwo was Jonnu Smith. And then what happened to Jonnu Smith? He went to New England. He got beat up by Hunter Henry. So I win this round. I pick Hunter Henry.
No, I think I beat up by Bill Belichick.
Yeah, well, we should take Bill out back. Hashtag take Bill out back.
Take Bill out back.
Yeah. No, I'm taking Hunter Henry for honestly similar reasons as Chig Okonkwo, which is that the top target earner, particularly a target earner who gets a lot of targets in the middle of the field, in Jakobi Meyers, is probably missing this week with a concussion, although he did play on Thursday. So I think there's definitely a better chance that Meyers winds up getting cleared in time than Burks does. But he's potentially out. And Henry's been running a ton of routes the last 2 weeks. They've seemingly put the Jonnu Smith experiment behind them. And I expect that if Meyers misses, you might even get more 2 tight end sets anyway. And then he gets Arizona. Arizona has just been giving it up to the tight end position for years now.
Yeah,
they absolutely hemorrhage tight end points. So I think there's a great opportunity for Hunter Henry to be a smash pick this week in a fantastic matchup and potentially with Meyers out of the lineup.
All right. What you got for us, Jay? And we got to run. We're running over.
Yeah, I went with Bellinger here going up against Philly. I mean, tight end's a wasteland. So I basically flipped the coin. I looked at last week. Only 6 tight ends scored a TD last week. Ingram, Hayward, Pruitt, Otten, Hill, and Fant. So I'm praying for a touchdown here. The Giants not having much else in the receiving game. Bellinger's flashed before the injury. Last week he was 5 for 5, only 24 yards. But I mean, it's there's nobody. The tight end is a wasteland. So we're going back to that comment that was made a minute ago about trying to I don't like to take blame on anything because I'm usually always right, but you can't blame us for the tight end landscape. They are just bad.
Love it, man. Hey, thank you guys for tuning in. If you all want to go check us out over there at youtube.com/fantasyintervention. Big shout out to Fantasy Football Discussion. Y'all can go follow Jay over there at FantasyJ77 on Twitter. You can follow Jacob at Jakob Sanderson over there on Twitter. That's Jakob Sanderson on Twitter. And you guys can go check out my Twitter at FF_intervention. How did I nail both y'all's? And I end up stuttering through mine at FF_intervention over there on Twitter. Thank you guys for tuning in. And thank you all for letting us intervene with your fantasy football life. We're out.